Hey guys, welcome to our video for Their Eyes Were Watching God excerpt. I'm going to read it to you. Now before we get started, there are a couple of things that I want you to know. Number one, if after you get done watching this video you're still not quite sure that you understand what you have read, if you click on this link, it'll take you to a super helpful video that will kind of explain to you exactly the scenario. As I read, I might stop and give you a couple of notes about what we're reading. When I do this, I'll bring the cursor back on the screen to kind of show you where I'm looking. But while I'm reading, the cursor, as you can see it right now, is going to be over to the side so you can't see it and it's not in our way. And then finally, here at the very bottom, you'll notice that the spelling is terrible. That is on purpose. What that is a writing technique called dialect, and that is when the author writes dialogue, the discussion between two characters, or just the discussion of, words coming out of the mouths of characters in the way that they sound. So if you ever notice, we all have certain accents, and that means that we might not pronounce words the same way as each other. So this writer took the liberty of writing words exactly the way they sound. Okay? So I want you to go ahead and know that the first two paragraphs are loaded with figurative language, and before I even read, I'm just going to explain them to you real quick. So the first one is talking about how men see the world, and it uses this idea of a boat on the horizon. So the boat is the man's dream, and when it comes in with the tide, that means that the dream has ended, the journey is done, right? Because if a boat comes and lands, that means people are getting off the boat, the trip's over. Meanwhile, if it's forever sailing on the horizon, that means that the dream is endless, okay? It's not going anywhere. It's kind of just stuck in the ocean. So there are two things. So either your dream can come to fruition, okay, and that can both be a good and bad thing depending on how coming in the tide means. It means that you can get washed up, or it could just mean that you're landing. But the other one means that this dream doesn't go away. Okay, so it says never landing until the watcher turns his eyes in resignation. So that boat doesn't come in with the tide, or it doesn't quit sailing until you finally just give up on it. Okay? And then the second one is pretty much just saying that women are remember selectively. Like, women only remember what they want to remember. And because of that, they see the world a little bit differently than men. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, these two do have figurative language that you're going to have to do for your figurative language portion. So I was hoping that would help you guys get that done just a little bit. Okay, so let's read. Ships at the distance have every man's wish on board. For some, they come in with a tide. For others, they sail forever on the horizon, never out of sight, never landing until the watcher turns his eyes away in resignation, his dreams mocked to death by time. That is the life of men. Now women forget all the things they don't want to remember and remember everything they don't want to forget. The dream is the truth. They act and do things accordingly. So the beginning of this was a woman, and she had come back from burying the dead, not the dead of sick and ailing with friends at the pillow and the feet. She had come back from the sodden and the bloated, the sudden dead, their eyes flung wide open in judgment. The people saw her come because it was sundown. The sun was gone, but he had left his footprints in the sky. It was time for sitting on porches by the roadside. It was a time to hear things and talk. The sitters had been tongueless, earless, eyeless conveniences all day long. Mules and other brutes had occupied their skins, but now the sun and the boss man were gone, so their skins felt powerful and human. They become lords of sound and lesser things. They passed nations through their mouths. They sat in judgment. Seeing the woman as she was made them remember the envy they had stored up from other times. So they chewed up the back parts of their minds and swallowed with relish. They made burning statements with questions and killing tools out of laughs. It was mass cruelty, a mood come alive, words walking without maskers, walking all together like harmony in a song. What's she doing coming back here in them overalls? Can't she find no dress to put on? Where's that blue satin dress she left here in? Where all that money your husband took and died and left her? What that old 40-year-old woman doing with her hair swinging down her back like some young gal? Where she left that young lad of a boy she went off here with? Thought she was going to marry. Where he left her? What he do with all her money? Betcha he off with some gal so young she ain't even got no hairs. Why, she don't stay in her class. When she got to where when she got to where she turned her face on the bander's log and spoke, they scrambled a noisy good evening and left their mouths set and open and their ears full of hope. Her speech was pleasant enough, but she kept walking straight on to her gate. The porch couldn't talk for looking. The men noticed her firm buttocks like she had grapefruits in her hip pockets, and a great rope of black hair swinging down her waist and unraveling in the wind like a plume. Then her pugnacious breasts trying to bore holes in her shirt. They, the men, were saving this in their mind for what they lost with the eye. The women took the faded shirt and muddy overalls and laid them away for remembrance. It was a weapon against her strength, and if it turned out of no significance, still it was a hope that she might fall to their level some day. But nobody moved, nobody spoke, nobody even thought to swallow spit until after her gate slammed behind her. Pearl Stone opened her mouth and laughed real hard. She didn't know what else to do. She fell all over Mrs. Sumpkins while she laughed. Mrs. Sumpkins snorted violently and sucked her teeth. Y'all let her worry you. You ain't like me. I ain't got her to study 'bout. If she ain't got manners enough to stop and let folks know how she been making out, let her go on. She ain't even worth talking after, Lulu Moss drawled through her nose. She sits high, but she looks low. That's what I say about these old women running after young boys. Phoebe Watson hitched her rocking chair forward before she spoke. Well, nobody don't know if it's anything to tell or not. Me, I'm her best friend, and I don't know. Maybe us don't know into things like you do, but we all know how she went away from here, and us sure seen her come back. 'Tain't no use in your trying to cloak no old woman like Janey Starks, Phoebe, friend or no friend. At that, she ain't so old as some of y'all that's talking. She's way past 40 to my knowledge, Phoebe. No more'n 40 at the outside. She's way too old for a boy like T-Cake. T-Cake ain't been no boy for some time. He's round 30 his own self. Don't care what it does. She could stop and say a few words with us. She act like we done something to her, Pearl Stone complained. She the one that's been doing wrong. You mean you mad 'cause she didn't stop and tell us all her business. Anyhow, what you ever know her to do so bad that y'all make out? The worst thing I ever knowed her to do was taking a few years off her age, and that ain't ever harmed nobody. Y'all makes me tired. The way you talking, you'd think the folks in this town didn't do nothing in the bed except praise the Lord. You have to excuse me, 'cause I'm bound to go take her some supper. Phoebe stood up sharply. Don't mind us, Lulu smiled. Go right ahead. You can mind your house, for you still get back. My supper is done, and you better see how she feel. You can let us, you can to let the rest of us know. All right, so that is our reading of the first part. So as you can see, there's a little bit of dialect here, just a little bit of background knowledge for you. Tea cake, when they talk about how this woman ran off with a younger man, her name is Janie Starks. Janie Starks ran off with a man about 15 years younger than her, anywhere between 10 and 15 years, and his name was Tea Cake. So it's rich with figurative language that creates this beautiful picture in your mind. I really hope that you enjoy it. It is quite a little bit to wrap your head around. So like I said, go ahead and make sure you look at this nice little video, and I hope you enjoyed my reading.